Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Golf Center here on WHHI Sports. Along with Bob Stevens, I'm PGA professional Chris Tremblay, and we have a show full of headlines today, interviews, and Bob, who do we have as guests?
Well, we're going to be joined by a member of the membership committee at Brown Golf, who's going to talk about becoming a member of 4 different courses in the Lowcountry and with one stroke of the pen.
That's a good deal.
That is a pretty good deal. And we're going to talk about the invasion. All the great amateur golfers from really all over the country are going to be in town over the weekend to play for the Golf Week Amateur Tour Championship. They're going to be all over the island. It'll be fun to watch them play. And
Hundreds of them. We're going to have Dennis McCormick on to talk about that. But first, let's get to headlines. Starting out on the PGA Tour this past week, Jimmy Walker becomes a first-time winner on tour by winning the...
I'm sorry, I had to say
Dynamite, I like that. By winning the Fries.com Open out in California. Now, this is the first event of the 2013-2014 season, so in essence, Bob, he's got a 3-year exemption on tour.
He really does, and he's leading the FedEx Cup points list. Remember, the tour used to start the season with the Tournament of Champions,
in January,
with all the champions who were there. To get a first-time winner of the first event is a little even historic. Jimmy Walker outlasted a lot of folks. I wasn't sure Jimmy had it in him to finally get over the hump and win. Great, solid player. Has made a ton of money on tour. Won 3 times on the minor league tour to get his promotion years ago, but hadn't won on tour. Been close a couple of times.
But a name you've seen up there quite a few times, no doubt.
And he is also, by the way, an amateur astronomer. Lives in Boerne, Texas, outside San Antonio. Got a lot of clear skies and loves to just go out there and look at the heavens. When certainly
he has enough money to get himself a nice new telescope now.
He can buy a new one now. A great player, good guy, and congratulations to him on winning.
It was a terrific tournament for him. Vijay Singh comes in second, 2 strokes
How about
back.
That? At 50.
I know. Vijay makes a really nice performance. He's going to be playing on the Champions Tour some also. And Brian Harmon, Savannah native and Sea Island resident, gets out of the gates very well, has a tied for 7th, final round 65, finishes at 13 under. Not a bad way to start out your year.
Yeah, start out with a top 10. They go on to Vegas, and you know, you can make some hay, I think, early on in this season because a lot of the big names are not playing in the fall. You get a chance to get out and really make your year. Do what Jimmy Walker done. He's already made his 2014.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Yeah, how about it? Very nicely.
Very nicely
Like
done.
Bob said, the tour goes out to Vegas this next week, and Ryan Moore is the defender there. Now, jumping over to the Champions Tour. Their season's winding down. They only have 3 more weeks left, and Russ Cochran...
That picture's backwards.
There's left. No, he's a lefty. That's the way he's supposed to be. Russ Cochran gets another victory on the tour. Finishes with 4 straight birdies, 16, 17, 18, and 15, and ends up beating David Frost by 1. What do you think of Russ Cochran, huh? Well, he's really made a little life for himself out here on the Champions Tour.
And that's one of the neat things about the Champions Tour. It is golf's mulligan. You just mentioned David Frost, who had a great PGA Tour career. You hear Freddie Couples, you hear Kenny Perry, Bernard Longer, who won a lot of tournaments on the regular tour. Russ Cochran didn't. But he has made a very nice living on the Champions Tour and kept his game going to a point where he can win and beat those guys.
Well, you know, he kept playing as much as he could right up until he got to be 50, kept himself in good shape, and like we said, it certainly is going to pay off for him down the road. We have 3 weeks left now, like we said in the Champions Tour. Charles Schwab Cup points are still out there to be grabbed, but Kenny Perry's got a pretty big lead. He's going to be awfully tough to catch. You have him in first, Bernard Longer in second, and David Frost in third place. $1 million goes to the winner, $500 to second, and $300 to third, and there's more payout going down the line there.
That'll buy Kenny Perry a bunch of muscle cars if he finishes
That's right.
that off.
That's what he likes to do.
He loves that for sure, and he has done this year what VJ could very easily do next year, and that's come in running on the new tour for them and really make.
Do we know if VJ has a plan for next year? I mean, do we know if he's committed?
He's not going to tell us.
He's not. Yeah, I know.
He's going to. I think he's going to play both tours, but I think he can be successful enough on the Champions Tour that he can play both tours and still win often enough to win the Charles Schwab Cup on the Champions Tour.
Well, time will tell, that's for sure. Let's jump over to the Ladies Tour. The ladies were over in Malaysia last week. They've only been in the U.S. twice since the U.S. Women's Open, so it truly is turning into a world tour. An 18-year-old Lexi Thompson wins for the 2nd time, defeating Shan Shan Fang, who won the week before by 2 shots, wins $300,000. Nice little payout for her. What do you think of Lexi?
Well, she's a great player. She hits it long. If she gets her short game in order, she's a threat anytime she plays, and she is a huge draw for the tour. This was a big win for the tour, even though it was overseas. It was a huge win again to build the brand of the LPGA, and when she wins over here, of course, it is even bigger, and she's done that already. And she's only 18.
What do you think of the tour becoming more of a world tour?
Oh, I think it's terrific.
I do too.
It's fantastic. They've got to let Lydia Ko in.
Yes. She's in the top 10 in the Rolex rankings. Kind of hard to say no there, isn't it?
She's 16, and they've got to let her in. And this could be a great rivalry for a whole lot of years.
Let's go ahead and move over to the local scene now. Coming up next week, we have the Honors Cup, the competition annually played between the Hilton Head Island Professional Golfers Association and the Hilton Head Island Amateur Golfers Association. Ryder Cup style match, one day, 6 4-ball matches in the morning, 1 point available for each of those, 12 singles in the afternoon, 9 points required for the pros to win because last year they won by a point, so they have the cup, so they only need 9 points. The amateurs are going to need 9.5, and I think we should read off the players on the team. I'm going to read the pros first.
Well, of course you are.
I'm going to read the pros. That's right.
Yeah,
I'm going to take the way
you work.
Well, I don't know. The amateurs have a pretty good squad this year. We'll go over that. But the pros that have qualified are follows: Matt Lucchese from Collin River, Mark Tomodolski from Cherokee Plantation, David Rogers from Secession Golf Club, Adam Lescalit from Long Cove, Josh May from Brays Island, Matt Bova from Hague Point, Cole Farman from Kalawasi, Luke McClellan from Hilton Head Lakes, Ed Brill from Palmetto Dunes, Tom Logue, who does such a wonderful job with the PGA and their and all the tournaments from Moss Creek, Mark Teed from Harbortown, and Pete Popovich, our friend from the Golf Performance Academy.
So, who do you call for a tee time this weekend? These guys are going to be busy.
They're going to have the cart people will be manning the golf shops.
Among the amateurs, we've got really the two of the best, very best. John Patterson will be playing. J.D. Hoft and Rob Simmons. They're right at the top.
Well, you have Patterson, the Hilton Head Island Open champ. You have J.D. and the State Open champ. J.D. Hoft, Hilton Head Island Amateur champ. I think they've got a pretty good squad going in.
I'd send them out right in the middle and to lead the team. Benji Gacy, Colin Hawkins, Jack Bingham, Trey Testino, Tate Hoisington, who I work with down at Harbortown some, Matt O'Quinn, Jeff Wong, Chris Lane, and Charlie Hall. Captained by Bob Collar with assistant captains Ben and Tim Ferguson. That's a fun event. Folks should go out. Now, where are they playing?
They are playing at Kalawasi on the 21st, and these events are so much fun. You earn them throughout the course of the year. You earn your right to play in them, and for most of them, it's such a different format because unfortunately in golf you don't get to play the team format very often.
And that's on a Monday, so sneak out and go see them.
Go watch them play a little bit. It'll be good golf. There's some awfully good players that are going to be there. That's all the time we have for headlines right now. You're watching Golf Center here on WHHI Sports.
One thing our Lark Country courses have is an awful lot of bunkers. And I see people all the time saying, I don't want to hit it in that bunker. The bunker can actually be your friend.
The bunker can be our friend, Bob. There's no doubt about it.
Or at least not as angry as sometimes working around the fringes. That's right. You're going to give us an idea of something we can at least take into the bunker and have a little more confidence in getting out.
Well, let's start out. Let's assume right away that you have a sand wedge that works for you. You've been working with the pro, and he says this is good for you. So we're not going to go really into wedges today and bounce. What we are going to talk about, though, before we get too far down the road here, is I want to talk about two parts of the club so you can identify them as I'm talking here. The first is the leading edge, which is this part of the club right here. That's where the face meets the sole. That's a leading edge. And then right back here is the trailing edge, okay? And the reason I want you to know what the trailing edge is for bunker players that play well. That's the first part of the club that is hitting the sand on the way down. So in other words, when they're hitting a bunker shot and coming down into the sand, the bottom part of this club is what's hitting the sand first, not the leading edge, okay? So the first thing we know, Bob, is that we need to have what we'll call a steep angle of attack to get the ball out of the bunker. Okay.
Right. If you're going with a shallow angle, all kinds of bad things.
Well, you have to come
You're either going to be way behind the ball.
Right,
you're either going to be way behind the ball, or you're going to scull the ball, or that's where most skull shots out of bunkers happen.
Exactly right. They come in too shallow.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's talk about number one, setup. Setup. If I were going right at the camera, I like to get myself a little open. Okay. Weight pretty evenly distributed. Okay. A little bit wider than usual because I want to lower my center of gravity some. because that's going to help me get down into the sand. If I stand up too tall, it's going to be too easy to hit that blade or come in shallow.
Sure.
Okay?
So you open up the stance, you also open up the club face.
Absolutely right. So if I'm opening up my stance some that way, I'm going to open up the club face a little bit that way. Okay? Because one thing we need to realize is the ball, if we hit it correctly, is going to take off out of the bunker via the path of the club with a little influence from the face, but mostly due to where the sand is being pushed by the path of the club. So, to help people get good at hitting down into the sand, one of the things I like to see them do first is become what I call a good sand splatter. You need to learn how to splat the sand first. And that's what I like to do, is put people in the bunker without a ball.
Okay.
And have them get good at getting in there and just swinging up and really hitting and smacking down into the sand till we get that nice sound that you hear with a good bunker shot.
great
You know,
idea.
you've been covering the tour for years.
Yeah.
You know what that good bunker shot
Absolutely.
sound is like.
You know, I had a pro tell me once, and it's a great tip because it worked for me. It may not work for you. Pretend you've got a dollar bill behind the ball and just hit George right in the face.
That's right. Right.
And bring the ball out. Because most of this, in the end, it's mostly confidence, isn't it?
It is.
It's feeling, okay, I can do this. And once you do that, you've really conquered probably
There's no
75%
doubt. You know, you
of the
need to get
issue.
into the bunker and practice.
Yeah.
You need to hit down and really practice smacking the sand. But here's the key to making sure that you don't hit those bladed shots and fly over the green and into something undesirable. As you go through the ball and hit the shot, you want to stay flat-footed, especially if you're a right-handed player with your right foot. So when I hit this shot, I tend to leave my right foot flat on the ground, because the minute we come up with it, that's when you're going to come up, and that's when we see the ball get bladed, and that's when we see that shallow angle of attack. So instead of the club coming down nice and steep, it comes in a little too shallow. So we want to open up the body, open up the club face, make sure when we hit, that foot stays flat on the ground, and I promise you that's going to help you get out of bunkers a little bit better.
I like that.
Let's go with it.
We mentioned it at the top of the show. How would you like to join 4 golf courses with just one stroke
That's for
of
me.
the pen?
That's for me.
I like that idea.
I like that deal a lot.
Brown Golf Management has made it their deal. Brittany Collins, the membership director of Brown Golf, is joining us. Brittany, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about the great opportunity to play 4 courses for one price.
Well, thanks for having me. We do offer different types of memberships here at Brown. We just bought 2 courses as of August 1st, so now we have 4 courses, 1 membership. We have different memberships for families. If you're over 68 years of age, it's a great deal for a family. Or we have different memberships if you're under the age of 40 also.
So we have Island West, we have Pinecrest, we have Eagles Point, and we have Crescent Point. Tell us about the different types of memberships we can get. Can we get weekday, weekend, junior, senior? Tell us about our offerings there. Seasonal.
What all's there?
We do have a couple options. We have the most common one is our monthly membership. There's just a 60-day notice on an annual term, and you just go month to month for seniors or anyone under the age of 40. And
that's terrific. You also have opportunities for folks who are at one of the courses and have carts. You've got different kind of ways of doing that too, don't you?
Yes.
Go to the website and find out. Is that kind of the best?
If you go to our pinecrestsc.com website, you can find out more. We've got a couple different options for cart plans. You could pay as you go, $18 for 18 holes or 9 for 9 holes. We also have a monthly cart plan and an annual cart plan, which you save about 20% on the year, which is a huge savings if you do it that way. So.
And free lessons.
Yes.
To me, that's the amazing part of the membership.
That's a good deal.
Tell us about that. Yeah.
Yes. Terry Miskulski is our instructor. He is based out of Crescent Point Golf Course. It's unlimited free lessons. So if you want to join a 4-course membership and get some benefits out of working on your game, that's probably the best way to go with the free lessons.
What incentives do Brown Golf members have besides obviously being able to play the courses here? Can they go to play some of the courses that you have in other spots around the country?
They do. A lot of people don't know this, but we own courses all over the East Coast, all the way from Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. So if you're a Brown Golf member and play any of those courses, you just pay a cart fee, which is $18.
Oh, that's
So,
fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to throw this one at you a little bit out of left field, but I know you can handle it.
You can handle it.
Okay.
Do members also get preferred tee times at the 4 courses? Because as busy as things are right now
right.
with golf around here, that's kind of a nice thing to have.
They do. They get to book up to 2 weeks in advance.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And they also have their preferred days where Men's Day, we rotate all 4 courses where they'll have their own day just for members
that's
assigned to
terrific.
them. So.
And then Sunday, speaking of all days,
I was
yeah,
just
you were going to
going
get the
there.
Sundays.
Yeah, the Sunday football.
Let's talk about Sundays.
Sunday football, we have a $5 buffet, or it's free if you play any course, Pinecrest or Crescent that day with your ticket. So it starts at 1, all you can eat buffet. We have all kinds of drink specials also. So
you have Sundays, you have Pinecrest, you have Crescent Point. If you played that day, you just show them the receipt that you played. If not, it's $5.
Get that early
Lots
tee
of
time.
TV screens to watch all the different games.
ton. A lot. Big
that
screens.
sounds like a good golf football day. I always like those golf football days, Bob. That's for sure.
Yeah. You got to get kicked out of the house to do that, but it would be worth it, I guess. Huh?
Get the broom. Get broomed out the door. Brittany Collins from Brown Golf Management, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back to Golf Center. A couple weeks ago we talked putting, and we're going to continue to talk putting today. A couple weeks ago we covered how to get yourself ready for the putt. In other words, how to read the putt. And to go over that again real quick, we talked about how to go to the side of your putt first, Bob. We talked about how to look at it from the side to determine if we're uphill and downhill and how much, because that's going to dictate to us how fast we're going to hit it, how hard.
And to let your feet do a little of the reading of the putt as well.
That's terrific. That's exactly where we're going to
I
go
learned a
next.
little bit.
As you're
All right.
walking around, looking at the putt, and we're going to talk about looking at it from behind the ball and behind the hole in a sec. When you're walking around, a lot of the tour players will tell you that. They can literally feel and get more of a read from what they get in their feet than sometimes what they see. So that's a great point. After we look at it from the side to determine uphill or downhill, then we want to go behind the hole. Behind the hole tells us what's going to happen for the second half of the putt. After we determine kind of how we're going to see the second half of that putt come in, we're going to go behind the ball and determine kind of the first half of the putt, because we know about where the ball has to be to come in the way we want it, so it helps us to judge about how much break we have.
Okay, question for you.
Question.
Do you putt to the apex of the break of the putt? Should that be your target? Or I've also seen a number of people who teach putting say, no, pick a spot a foot in front of you that's on that line, obviously, but just pick that spot and make sure you stroke it over there.
I think you can do both. I think it depends on the person. Some people see all putts as being straight. They see it as what we call linear putters. They see everything as being
Phil
straight.
Mickelson says they're all straight if you hit them hard enough.
Yeah, they certainly are all straight if you hit them hard enough, no doubt. But when we see a little bit more break in some putts, we definitely want to determine what the apex is. Because if we can't hit that spot, we've got no chance of the ball going in.
Okay.
So what I like to do is I like to pick the apex and then get my line from behind the ball and pick out a spot right in front of my ball that's right in line with the apex so I can get it started there.
And if you're rolling it right at the start, you've at least got a shot.
You
at
definitely
having it
do.
go in. Yeah.
So let's talk about the fact here that we've kind of got a read now. Okay, we know what our putt's going to do, or at least we'd like to think we do. So now we've got to get an idea as to how hard we hit it. So what I like to see people do is get behind the ball. Okay, and I'm going to kind of put you right in front of the Golf Center sign here, if you would.
Yes.
And face the camera. We're going to have you face the camera. Now, what I'd like you to do is I would like you to look right at the camera, but I'd like you to make your putting stroke for me while you're looking in the camera. So look in the camera.
And you like to do it almost exactly perpendicular?
I like to be right in line with where I'm going to go. So
look
I
on
want
the
you to
line
pretend you're looking at the line, but as you're making your stroke, I want you to start getting your feel for how hard you think you're going to hit it. So while you're looking at the putt, you're determining how hard to hit it. You're not just looking down, getting yourself ready.
Right.
You're looking at what your business is. Your business is out there.
That's
what I want you to get engaged in.
And that would be the analogy we talked about last time about why free throw shooters look at the rim and not the ball. This would be your chance to look at the rim and not the ball.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
You know, and just like I said, I really like to see people kind of programming the speed in. You know, like I said, that's where your business is, out there in front of you. So as you're getting ready, I really want you looking the length of the putt, you know, doing everything you can to program the computer up here so it sends the message down to the body as to how to hit it.
All right.
Okay, so let me ask you something.
Yes.
Before you walk in to hit your putt, do you like to do practice strokes behind the ball? Do you like to walk up to the side and do it? Do you have a routine you feel like you are doing every time?
You know, I generally, and routine is an important thing, I know that, and I will generally, yes, I will try a couple of putts when I'm up to the ball. I know Aaron Badley is one of those who professes, no, do all the work behind the ball.
And then walk right up.
Put the putter behind it and hit it. Are you in that school?
Well, something I've always done, I've always been somebody to do my business behind, and then I walk up and get right up there. I know Dave Stockton, one of the great putting gurus out there, and obviously a two-time PGA champion. He and his two sons specialize in putting as far as putting schools go and so on. And he's a big advocate of really doing it where you just kind of get your feel and walk right up and hit it. He likes you to look at a spot that's right in front of the ball and actually look at that spot while you're putting.
He's had a little bit of success.
He's had a lot of success with the putter, needless to say.
Yeah.
But I'm, you know, like I said though, I think you can do it any way that works well for that person. You know, that's just the way I learned. I just kind of got behind it, and I think, you know, I was sometimes strapped for time playing a lot. So, you know, you just did whatever you needed to do. But I think, you know, based on the person, the people that like to walk up there and do the strokes right next to it and walk in, I think, you know, any way you can get the ball in the hole, if that works for you.
Square stance, open stance, make any difference? Closed stance?
If anything, I like to see somebody just a little bit open.
Okay.
I think it can give you, as opposed to being square, a little bit open, thank you. Mm-hmm. Square like this. I like to leave my shoulders a little square.
Okay.
I'll leave them, but I'll open up my hips and my feet a little bit. It helps me get a good look at my line. That's just something I've always done. You know, you see very few closed putters today.
If you find yourself pulling the ball all the time, then maybe you want to square it up.
That's exactly right, you know, but I think a lot of times what you'll find is somebody that might set up a little open that is pulling, they set up a little open at the same time they open their shoulders. So I've just found for me, if I set my left foot back a little bit but keep my shoulders pretty square, it's something that's worked for me and made me feel fairly comfortable. So like I said, you want to make sure, if anything, you're comfortable over the ball, but it doesn't have to be any one way to do it. You know, you can do it from behind. You can go up and do the practice stroke right next to it before you hop in there.
Sometime soon, we're going to talk about grips. We're going to talk about left hand low. We're going to
we'll
do
that's
all
good.
of that.
That's going to be the next thing we go over is how you hold it and what happens when you get up to the ball.
All righty.
That's all the time we have for Golf Center this week. We'd like to thank everybody for being with us. For Bob Stevens, I'm PGA professional Chris Tremblay. We'll see you next time.
Get out and play.
Yeah.